Hello and welcome. We have with us none other than the Secretary General of Rajya Sabha, Shri Shamsher Sharif. Sir, welcome to Rajya Sabha TV and thank you so much for giving us time. This is a very important occasion as far as the legislative process in our country goes, and given the fact that India is the largest democracy in terms of population on this planet, this gives more importance to such deliberations as the one which is going in right now. We've gone through what you pointed out and what is the agenda is as well, and so that's a generous departure from the tradition wherein you've spoken about the challenges, spoken about what needs to be done. But for the benefit of our viewers, I would like to begin with the need and importance of having such conferences. This is, and let's not forget that this is the 55th one, and as far as the presiding officers conference is concerned, that would be 77th.
Well, as I said, first and foremost, thank you for having me on this program. Well, this particular conference is in two segments. One is of the secretaries and the other is of the presiding officers. It is more or less a kind of pattern that has also been in an international way held at the level of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, which is perhaps the oldest institution of its kind, having been established in 1889. We in India have established this from 1953. And this conference provides an opportunity for the secretaries of all the legislative assemblies and councils and the two secretary generals of the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha to be able to inter-exchange ideas and also matters primarily related to procedures and an improvement of their secretariats.
Okay.
That is the prime focus. Quite naturally, since it runs back to back with the presiding officers conference, the agenda of the two, while being separate, you may say, are two parts of the same coin.
Sort of intermingled, and maybe
they are, because the secretaries do provide the inputs for the main conference, but at the same time, this is a time when you can say, you could call it an occasion when they can introspect and share in a very open manner with one another about the issues which face them on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, wonderful. Apart from that, as I was saying it in the beginning, that and I was going through your speech as well, which you made at the inaugural session. You moved away from the tradition. There was a bit of a departure, I would say, as far as talking about key issues which are being discussed over the years in these conferences is concerned. And you sought to focus on the challenges which lie ahead before the secretariats of legislative assemblies, be it the state assemblies or be it the Rajya Sabha secretariat or maybe the Lok Sabha secretariat. And those challenges are pretty much in tune with the contemporary times. Those are the challenges which, some in the corporate sector would also say that they also face the same challenges. But let's start with those challenges one by one. One which you have started with and pointing out is saying that it is important to maintain the continuity of dialogue between constituents and their representatives. Now that's very significant because ultimately in a democracy, the representatives, that's those who are chosen by the people, who sit in the parliaments or maybe state assemblies, are the direct voice of the people. And you've said that more needs to be done to maintain the continuity of that dialogue. So what exactly are you trying to imply out here as to what can be done and what is it that is missing?
Well, let me put it to you this way. When I chose to, well, not chose, I was expected to speak at this conference. And the pattern has been that one normally takes stock of what you have done and really put across to your colleagues in the manner in which it was done. I thought it would be a very good opportunity, since we've met after a break of almost 3 years, which is substantial, is in these 3 years and maybe even through this last decade, there have been so many changes in the world around us, and in order to keep with those changes, what would be the kind of challenges that we in the legislative secretariats, both in the states and at the level of parliament, face? Because this is something that in the changed environment, as I've said in my speech itself, is of a multidimensional nature. The aspirations of the youth, and of course, as you have just said, the maintaining the continuing dialogue. Because in order to maintain a dialogue, you need instruments, you need mannerisms in which you can communicate with people. And those have to necessarily keep apace with things like communication technology, outreach to constituents. And it is the primary job of every secretariat to be able to assist the members to be able to do so. And therefore, it's very, very important that we need to upgrade ourselves for this. And that, as I put across to my colleagues in the conference, is the prime challenge, and how we need to go about it, and to ask from them as to what is their experience, so that we can all reach a certain level of response.
Okay, when you said upgrade ourselves, that is, they upgrade the secretariat and its officials and the machinery involved, and you yourself mentioned right now, and you said it in the session as well, the use of ICT, information and computer technology. Now that's a very significant area wherein a lot of focus needs to be made, because all of us know with the advent of the ICT and other technologies, we have one very prevalent term out here, social media, and it's the fastest way to connect with each other. Youngsters, as you pointed out, are taking it up on a very frequent basis, and they also expect that all institutions, be it the parliament itself, respond to their queries in a much faster manner. So what do you really believe can be done to ensure that this institution, which might appear a little complicated to the general public, to the common man, is more simplified, especially for the youth of the day?
No, I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head, because you've used the word simplification. We are living in a world of instant communication. Technology is a part of it. People are speaking to one another on the mobile. You have the social media. You have live television coverage. You have so many aspects of all this which sort of influence our life, both at work and outside work. So the responses that you need from a secretariat have to keep abreast with this, which means that you have to upgrade your procedures. You have to upgrade necessarily your responses in such a way that you adapt technologies as part of your daily mechanism. You communicate. I'll give you an instance. Parliament is summoned. In the old days, you would use only paper technology. In fact, the theme of the presiding officer's conference is paperless technology, which is very important. Now, we have started, for instance, a system in Parliament where we are adapting the technology by sending out SMS messages instantly to all the members and telling them that Parliament has been summoned on so and so days. These are the days which have been allocated to various ministries, etc., so that they get it instantly wherever they are. This is not to say that we don't use the conventional method, because we have to adapt ourselves to all levels of members who would require also written material. And therefore, we use a mixture of this, but there is a greater emphasis enabled in a manner of communicating with them faster. Now comes the question, as you said, people also want to communicate.
Yes.
So it's all very well for us to do what we need to do. But one of the points which I had tried to suggest in the conference was that while we are doing all this, in order to maintain that continuing dialogue, we also need to get the people aware of what is happening. And for this, one of the things that we have done is that we've used the television network. In our case, we have the Rajya Sabha television, which is doing a lot of outreach programs. It has also come up on the social media. I was told that on YouTube there are almost 10 million viewers today. Yes. Now 10 million for us is a large figure, but in a country of 1.25 billion, it's a proportion which is, I would say, limited.
But can we say a beginning has been made?
I would say it's a great beginning, and now I would look forward to some sort of further enhancement or elevation of that by seeing how we can begin a dialogue, and that is how you actually get the representatives closer to the people. And this is one of the objectives I think we should keep at the back of our mind.
Oh, okay. Let me bring in a little a slightly different perspective out here, and that is, and I would like to know as to what other colleagues of yours from other state legislative assemblies might have had to say on this, as far as this particular area is concerned, because some say that there are still, areas or other, secretariats in legislative assemblies where old archaic equipment such as typewriters are still in use. There are some legislative assemblies where we've seen news items, where we've seen, it been pointed out that there are lack of funds. So I'm pretty sure that your colleagues might have raised it up during the discussion. What can be the way out there? Because as far as Rajya Sabha is concerned, yes, it has taken an initiative. Lok Sabha Secretariat might also be, pulling it up and carrying it forward. There are other state assemblies which might be catching up and then thinking of other innovative ideas. But then there are some which are lagging behind.
No, Lok Sabha is also doing a lot of things. But as you said, old is good, but I would say that, the new is better. So in our case, what we've done is that in order to upgrade our communications and to be able to sort of reach various people, we use a multi-pronged approach. It's not only this, but we also have other ways of dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. But coming back to your principal question, which is that how have my other colleagues reacted to this? You would be quite surprised that I would say there was a unanimous opinion that technology and information technology and the use of modern methods, everybody was in agreement with that. And therefore, one area, of course, we didn't touch upon, which I would have imagined will come up sooner or later, would be how much would the finances go into this to be able to. So one of the things which was suggested was that we should be able to create some kind of uniformity, because it is not just a question of information technology, which is the hardware part of it and the software part of it, but also how to use it.
How to use it. Yeah.
So therefore, I thought that we should also discuss some of that, and we did discuss. But yes, across the board, I don't think there was a single state which said that they hadn't done, and some of the states have done, in fact, exceedingly well. Some of them have really sort of kept up with the times. In fact,
great.
We should be able to take some examples from them.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, as it is said that well begin is half done, so at least there's a unanimity. People, other colleagues of yours who are in charge of state assemblies believe that this is one area which can be focused upon, which might bring in a little more, participation, of active participation of people. We'll take a short break here, but when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with the Secretary General, Rajya Sabha, and we'll talk about how this engagement with public can be done in specific terms, in specific areas, and also about other procedures of the upper house which have undergone a change in the past for the betterment. Stay tuned.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Breakfast News.
Every development worldwide impacts India. What happened overnight matters. Wake up to a complete roundup of world news. Keen analysis to kickstart your day. Watch Breakfast News, weekdays at 8 a.m.
इतिहास की खूबसूरत दौर से रूबरू कराती बेमिसाल बावलियां, जो हैं वास्तुकला का अद्भुत नमूना,
जहां आज भी सैलानी बड़ी संख्या में आते हैं और कैमरे में यहाँ की यादें कैद कर ली जाती हैं।
जल्द ही देखिए अस्मिता में एक यादगार सफर बेमिसाल बावलियां, सिर्फ राज्यसभा टीवी पर।
Welcome back. Secretary General Rajya Sabha Shamsher Sharif is still with us. Sir, before we went into the break, we spoke about how the use of information technology can sort of bring these institutions and the common man closer. But as you pointed out, and as I was also saying, that this communication has to be a two-way communication. The people also should be able to communicate in an effective manner with the representatives and these institutions. Now, one of the areas and one of those tools is through petitions. Now, this is one tool which it seems that not many people are aware of, and critics say, or rather analysts say, that one of the reasons may be because of the cumbersome procedure involved in people using the petitions rule to let their representatives know, or let the parliament, or in this case maybe Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha, maybe state assemblies, know what their problems are, what their grievances are. So what can be done in terms of areas like these, wherein people can get a little more chance to express themselves directly and more clearly?
I think as far as petitions is concerned, it's a worldwide phenomenon. The reason why I mention this is that about 2 years ago, while I was attending an international conference, I was asked if I would like to speak on a particular subject, and I chose this particular subject, which is petitioning before parliaments, and to give them a little bit of experience, to give a little bit of information about our experience. And I was pleasantly surprised to learn that a number of, you may call, forward-looking countries and forward-looking parliaments, particularly in Europe, actually came and approached me and said, we don't have this mechanism, and we would like to learn from you how to go about it. And now that you've given us this presentation, we need to keep in touch. So that is why I feel that petitioning is not just an issue related to countries like us, but it is a worldwide phenomena, because people wish to carry their grievances, if you call, or desires or suggestions beyond themselves.
So and yet its use has not been completely explored in our country as well.
Absolutely. Now we have to distinguish between an individual's petition and a public related petition. Okay. So keeping that in mind, I think in Parliament, I think we need to focus on the latter, because individual petitions, the country provides legal recourse in many ways for redressing those.
Okay.
But it is the public petitions which lead ultimately to legislation, because that is what all legislative bodies are all about, that you legislate. So petitions, we actually take a look at it more from prism, or the view of, can a law address this? Does that law exist, in which case the petition can be taken care of? Or does the law not exist, in which case should we think about creating such a law? So therefore petitions is a very important and an integral part of parliamentary and legislative functions, I feel. And I think we, at least in the Rajya Sabha, have a very, very active committee on petitions, which has members of parliament, and they meet regularly and give suggestions frequently. Those suggestions are considered by the government, and from time to time they do respond, and they do make certain changes too.
But would you agree with me on this, that as far as this particular area, that is, this petitions is concerned, using tools like information and computer technology, that's ICT and social media, and maybe publicizing this tool more prominently, may give a lot more chance to the common people to try and utilize this tool more effectively, not only in Rajya Sabha but in Lok Sabha as well, and in state assemblies as well. We have state assemblies wherein also this particular tool can be used. Is that, will that make some sort of impact?
Well, it will certainly make an impact, but I can also tell you that there would be a large overburden also of you may say petitions, which will have to be sifted, looked into carefully. So I am fully aware of the fact that by inviting this kind of interaction, it will be also a huge demand on the secretariats and their officers, as well as the members, to be able to spend more time listening to petitions and also listening to them in committees. Because a lot of these petitions, we have what are called standing committees. So if there is a particular petition on a particular subject, it can certainly be put across to that particular committee, who can then take evidence or visit the places where things are required to be seen themselves. So I think it's a very good mechanism. I see no reason why we should not explore this possibility.
Okay, that's great. Though it comes at a cost of increasing the burden of your secretariat and maybe your burden as well, but then you still believe that this is something which can
It's a challenge.
bring in,
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge which can be taken up, and it can bring in a lot more information. And when people contribute, they might contribute with different ideas as well, maybe.
Absolutely.
Okay, one of the another topics which I was going through the agenda of the Secretaries Conference, which came up for discussion, as the agenda says, is the need for a broad-based questions procedure. Now, this though this would have been discussed threadbare in the conference, but then as far as Rajya Sabha is concerned, one very significant development has taken place, and it has taken place in the recent past. It was done earlier as well by the Honorable Chairman of Rajya Sabha. That is to change the timing of the question hour. Now, that is being seen as a departure from the tradition again. That is being seen as being taken as a bold step, bold initiative to try and put things in perspective in the contemporary times. Maybe what happened around used to happen 25, 30, 40 years ago was okay at that point in time, but with the changing times and the changing nature of political discourse and democratic institutions, might be this change might have been required. How do you believe, you've been at the helm of affairs when this change was brought in, how do you believe this change in timing of question hour has helped as far as the productivity of the upper house is concerned?
Well, let me say that as far as the question hour is concerned, it is perhaps the most important instrument which is available to members, whether they are in the opposition or in the government, but as members and as representatives of their people.
On both sides.
On both sides, to hold the government of the day accountable for its actions. And therefore, the question hour, in fact, is in many ways the fulcrum of functioning as far as accountability is concerned. Because if questions are unanswered, then in that case there are mechanisms to ensure that they are answered. If they are not fully satisfactorily answered, there are mechanisms to ensure that they are satisfactorily answered. So from the question hour, you give birth to a number of other ways in which parliamentary democracy functions. Now, when we speak of departure, I would like to look at it again from the point of view of a challenge. It is not so much of a departure as much as a response. It is a response to the changing environment. It was found, not now only, it was found a couple of years ago, and a short experiment, if I may use the word experiment, or it was basically tried out earlier, once before, of changing the question hour in order to enable the members to take up immediate pressing issues of urgent public importance even before they went on to the question hour, which would then take substantial amount of time. So keeping that in mind, we found that the nature of disruptions and the frequency of disruptions was causing concern to a lot of members who had asked questions, who were answerable to their constituents, and people who wanted to have answers from the government. And therefore,
which was a considerable majority of the House.
I wouldn't go as far as saying just majority. I would say it was a majority sentiment. Sentiment, because to put numbers would not be fair on my part.
I was not intending numbers. I was saying sentiment.
It was a sentiment, and people across the board feel that yes, question hour is very important. So it was put across to the leaders of political parties in a meeting, and it was suggested that if we could make this change and let members have their say on the matters which are actually exercising their attention because of various reasons, and then get on to the business which is required, then in that event, we could perhaps overcome some of the procedural problems that we faced. So I would say we have started that, and it has shown some good results, but it remains to be seen. Ultimately, it's in the hands of the members and their parties to be able to make Parliament a success, and I'm sure they would like to make it a success.
But can this this move which has been taken up by the chairman Rajya Sabha, can this also not be useful to state assemblies as well, wherein also we see a lot of disruptions, not only the parliament wherein we see disruptions. Disruptions are an integral part of the state assemblies as well. So coming back to the conference, when a discussion happened on this, I'm pretty sure that some of your colleagues might have evinced a lot of interest in, if at all, that this might be implemented in assemblies as well, maybe changing the timing if at all required, or some other way.
Well, now you're probing me. So, but I would like to say, just in all fairness to my colleagues in the conference, that different states have different experiences. And I was equally surprised and pleasantly surprised that quite a few assemblies do actually have a very good track record on questions without disruptions, and it is almost sacrosanct in some cases. So keeping that in mind, I don't think they face such a major problem as far as the questions are concerned, in the sense that questions, they also take sometimes what is called unstarred questions through the year. But yes, I think they would also perhaps, if need be, but as of now in the conference we didn't come across too much of, you may say, too much of worry about the questions not being fully answered, at least in the state assemblies. There they feel that they are being able to manage it at the moment, and I hope they continue to do so.
Okay, then let's hope so. And with this, let's bring an end to this conversation. So this was the Secretary General of Rajya Sabha, Shamsher Sharif, giving his views on the challenges before the legislative bodies in India, which I'm pretty sure that might be faced by the legislative bodies outside India as well. We'll come back again with a different personality on a different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha television.